Filthy.
Peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the Prolific Perspectives Podcast. I am your host, Andre Polite, and today I have my guest, the founder of ARIEL Business Group, Mr. Huggins. Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to come and join us today.
Man, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Appreciate the good work that you're doing and the things that you're doing in the community. So I take it an honor for you to have me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on as well. I definitely appreciate you. And as far as your journey into entrepreneurship, I know that ARIEL itself, the acronym that defines the business, is powerful. But can you kind of share a little bit about your story and your journey and how you even got to the point in life when you began to create the ARIEL
The
business?
journey.
Yes,
Do we
sir.
have enough time to do that? Okay, because
I
I don't
got
know
it.
if
You
we
got
have enough time to do that, right? The journey in itself, I'll say, started way before we started ARIEL Business Group, right? And so I am just a little background. So I'm an original Florida native. So I grew up in a little town called Green Cove Springs, which is south of Jacksonville. So played a little basketball during the day. Wound up playing basketball at college, and then decided that I didn't want to stay. I was in South Carolina, College of Charleston, South Carolina, and decided that I didn't want to stay in after graduation. Decided I didn't want to stay in South Carolina, so I wanted to move back to Florida. And so my journey started on my move back to Florida. So I actually moved here to Tampa and after college, and I actually came here with no money, not knowing anybody. I think I knew one person, and just said, okay, I'm gonna come here not knowing anybody and try and figure out how I can make it work. So came here, just didn't know anybody. Actually had a couple of actually one of my alumni in South Carolina had a friend here and said, hey, call this guy when you get in town, see what he can do to try and help you. So when I got into town, I was doing interviews because I wasn't real sure what I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to go into business, go into corporate America, or coach, because I was interviewing coaching, I was interviewing for jobs, and so whichever one came first, I wound up getting a job. One of the first jobs I had was working on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, the construction of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in the construction area. So just long story short, I was in, my undergraduate degree actually started in civil engineering and architectural, but actually because I played basketball, all of my labs were in the afternoon. So it really wasn't conducive for me to be able to do that. So I changed to business. So business was my undergraduate degree. And so coming to Tampa, I was looking to get into banking or get into coaching. And so long story short, I actually was able to get employed by one of the local banks or financial institutions. It was the only African American at the time. It was the only African American bank in the city, and so we were employed there. And I started working during the transition of from savings and loans to a commercial bank. So I learned the inner workings of banking and operations and all of that. And during that time, actually was one of the loan officers. And so we were transitioning from residential loans to mortgages, and residential loans to actually commercial loans and business loans. And so I started working with individual businesses in terms of helping them get financing and all of that while I was at the bank. While I was there, I got an offer to go work for a consulting firm. And the consulting firm, actually, their focus was actually working with minority businesses and small businesses. And so I went to work for the consulting firm who actually had a contract with the Department of Commerce. And so it was a minority business development agency. And so I became the consultant, and then ultimately became the director of the Minority Business Development Center here in the Tampa Bay area. And so for that, we did that for a number of years, and actually began to work with a lot of businesses, a number of businesses over time. So my position at that time was helping businesses learn to navigate, to start a business, financing, understand how to navigate government contracting, government consulting, government contracting, construction. So over that time, I had the opportunity to work with businesses in all industries, from lawyers to doctors to beauty salon, supply shops. You name it, we actually was able to get our hands on it. And so I think during that experience, I think one of the great lessons I learned is that I saw a lot of very, very significant mistakes that entrepreneurs would make. And so the fortunate thing about being a consultant is that you can watch folks make mistakes, but it don't cost you any money.
Right.
So the lesson was you were learning from others, but you trying to guide and direct, but then it's not costing you any money, it's costing them money, which is, you don't want to see that happen. But the thing is, you want to try to advise folks to be able to not go down the path of where it you're losing money, because at the end of the day, it's making profits and continue to survive in your business.
Right.
So we did that for a minute. And so actually working with the consulting firm and with Minority Business Development Agency, we honed our teeth in terms of entrepreneurship, working with entrepreneurs, working with business owners, and all of that. And you and I talked before, but I was my story in terms of the business side of it. Yeah, I did that for about 10 years, and then I'm married and had children, and did the whole thing of buying a house and all those things, right? So my wife at the time decided that, hey, we've got 2 kids, got a house, but I actually decided I don't want to work. I don't want to work anymore. I don't like my employer, so I'd rather not work anymore. So she decided to leave. And so that was a major adjustment. Just, now we go from 2 incomes to 1. And so I'm there. And then, as I shared with you before, some of us get into entrepreneurship either on their individual motivation and desire, or you get forced into it. Okay. And so on April Fool's Day, I get a phone call from my boss, and he calls me and he says, "Hey, look, I got good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first?" Says, "Okay, I want to hear the good news." Say the good news is that, I'll say bad news. The bad news is that, okay, I'm closing the office and you got to lay off your staff. And I said, okay, so what's the good news? The good news is that you got 30 days and then you got to close the office. So
and that's supposed to be good news?
That was the good news.
Jeez.
So with that, I'm reflecting back, because as I shared with you, my wife was not working, and so now we go from 2 incomes to 1 income to no income, okay, in the matter of a short period of time. And so, man, as I said, we've got a mortgage, a house, and 2 kids and cars and all that stuff. And so, it's by the grace of God. So we trust and believe God that, he was going to provide a way for us, and he did. So, we started ARIEL, to figure out a way, okay, how we're going to navigate this, generating some revenues or whatever. So what we did was we had created ARIEL because it kind of got a hint something was up, and so we had actually created ARIEL, started ARIEL a couple months before we got the notice. And so as I got the notice, and as we closed down the office, laid off my staff, and then we transitioned into ARIEL Business Group. providing consulting. And, over time, we had actually developed some relationships with some folks within the industry and with some of the government agencies. And we were able to come out and be able to begin to provide consulting services again, transitioning. We're still helping entrepreneurs, helping small businesses, helping some of the agencies do some training and those kinds of things. And so that was the genesis of ARIEL Business Group. And so we started that, and the bulk of our early years was working with companies, helping them get started, helping them learn certification, helping them get financing, go through the minority business programs, understand how to get contracts and contracting opportunities with government agencies, and how to navigate the waters of entrepreneurship and business in general. And so that was our genesis. And so over time, we began to do that, and we looked at developed a niche in the diverse business compliance environment. And so what we began to do was to provide the consulting services to larger general contractors on major construction projects. We had been working with a number of businesses in the community, so we had a very good feel for the subcontracting community, the construction community, the business community as a whole. And so we were asked by a contractor to help them. They were getting ready to build a major a project here locally, and so we were asked to help identify minority businesses. And so we thought that was a great opportunity to be able to bring businesses who were not aware of the opportunities to the table, and then be able to match them with the general contractor and or the developer that was building the project. And so that kind of assisted us in getting into that niche space of being able to provide opportunities not only for minority businesses, but also assisting the general contractors who were looking for minority businesses. And so we provided the value add of being able to assist and help navigate the waters, increase business opportunities for minority and small businesses.
And it's crazy because I'm looking at your site now. When I initially was doing the research on you and the company before we started the interview, one of the things that impressed me the most was the acronym that ARIEL stands for, which is accountability, reliability, integrity, excellence, and community leadership. Now that's a powerful acronym. That to me is like a mission and vision statement within itself, which is 5 words. But how did you come up with that as the acronym to kind of be, the trend, to set the trend of the foundation of what ARIEL Business Group stands for?
One of the things that, overall, it's the foundation of ARIEL is really servanthood and servant leadership. And so in order to be able to do that, you really need to develop a relationship with those individuals that you're working with, right? And so recognizing the fact that, okay, you're here as a servant. And so that's the philosophy of our team. We're here providing our service, irregardless of who it is that we're working with. We are, the value is in the people and the relationships that you develop. And so developing those relationships, you need to be accountable. You need to be able to have relationships. You need to be able to work and have community involvement. And so we did involve in the community, so develop those relationships in the community. So the foundation was really led based on servant leadership and servanthood to the community as a whole, and valuing the relationships in people and in businesses and, across the board, the relationships in the community as a whole.
That's powerful. And now you said that you started growing and expanding into larger projects, and as far as consulting larger construction companies, but I think humbly speaking, you were doing, because you've actually did some huge projects. And if I'm not mistaken, one I'm looking at, you as part of the Selman Expressway in the Tampa Bay area, as well as the airport, and among several others. So how did you go from starting out small, considerably small, but then to scaling and growing to where you're doing.
We're still small. I mean, we're still small. We just happen to work on we just happen to work on large projects. We're still small. We just happen to work on large projects. We've been blessed to be able to be involved with projects of that size. So I mean, I'll say this: we've been blessed to work on some of the largest projects in the Tampa Bay area.
Right.
So when we first started, one of our first projects was the Florida Aquarium. So we're actually involved in building the Florida Aquarium, working with the construction company in terms of identifying minority businesses. And there are some businesses that we actually identified on that project that we still have relationships now that worked on the Florida Aquarium, right? And so we worked on the Florida Aquarium. We started working at the Leroy Selman Crosstown Expressway. So we were the actual consultants for the Tampa Expressway Authority during the building of the Leroy Selman Crosstown Expressway. And so when you look at that, that was over $300 million worth of construction, where we were able to assist, small businesses and minority businesses get an opportunity to participate on that project. And so there are companies that we've actually that assisted in terms of getting opportunities, again, that we still have relationships with. That was a great project for us as we were working directly for the Expressway Authority. So we were the in-house consultant, the small business consultant for the Expressway Authority during that project. And then as we moved on, we actually were working with we have several projects out at the Tampa Airport with some of the general contractors that we work with. We work with Austin Commercial. If you've been out at the airport recently, the new rental car facility, as well as the APM, the train that moves from the terminal to the actual rental car facility, we were part of the construction team, so we assisted the compliance team with that. And so we actually work with Austin. And so we were able to assist a number of businesses. I think our number was somewhere around over $100 million that were actually to minority businesses during the construction of that project. So again, our goal is to assist in helping create economic opportunities on those projects. And so we've worked there. We're right now working with a group called Hensel Phelps, where they're actually at the airport on blue side and red side. And so their building is a main terminal curbside expansion. And so they're building the Blue Express ramp, and they're now in the process of the Red Express ramp. And so those are some of the projects that we've been involved in. So we also work with Department of Transportation, so on some of the horizontal road projects. So we're pretty diverse in terms of where we've worked at in terms of projects. We've worked with on horizontal roadway projects, and we've worked on vertical projects, which are buildings like the airport. We've also development projects with housing authorities, and those kind of things. And so our focus is that we were able to, identify a niche in terms of being able to provide value add to the contractor who was seeking assistance. Again, when you think about this, you got guys who are trained contractors. They are trained to build.
Right.
And so that's their focus. And so what we were able to do was to be able to provide an opportunity, say, hey, look, let us assist you, provide the value add to help you. Why should you have to learn to do compliance or understand all these other pieces? Let us help support you on your project. And so that's how we created the niche, boutique niche, in terms of providing support services to the general contractors on those projects. I mean, so we've done projects on stadiums, sports facilities. We've been involved with those. We've been involved on industrial projects, waste to energy facilities throughout the county and throughout the state. So horizontal projects, roadway, bridges, we've been involved with those. through our team. So, we're pretty diverse in terms of the type of construction, large construction projects that we've been involved in. The other side of the coin is this, and so we also provide training, and so we've done work for local municipalities in terms of providing training to small businesses and in the construction space, and then other training as well. So we do training for facilitate training for Hillsborough County. We're continuing to do the things that I mentioned to support and help create economic opportunities in the marketplace. We're continuing to expand, and we're also providing services on the federal space as well. So we're working with some federal agencies in terms of providing support services to different federal agencies. So we really, again, continue to be a small firm, but we are boutique and diversified in terms of the services that we provide along the way.
And it's crazy because when you say small, I'm looking at the site and listening to you, but and I know time's wrapping, so I want to try to be concise and fast with the questions, but it's like 3 or 4 more I would love to ask. But one,
go ahead, feel free.
Okay, when you say small, I'm thinking when you started from when you founded ARIEL, which was, I want to believe, in 1996, to where you have worked on and with some of the largest projects in the entire Central Florida area, from the expressway to the aquarium to the airport. Then you've also worked with the Hillsborough County Schools, you've worked with Pinellas County Schools, you worked with FAMU, you've worked with Clearwater. It's all these major players in the Central Florida area. But then on the national scale, you've worked with the Department of Transportation, you've worked with General Services Administration, and so you're doing it on the federal, national level as well as the local level. So you went from starting this business in '96, from having to working with some of the biggest projects in the state of Florida and across the country. And you say you're small, but you're doing some of the largest deals in the country. But 3 things that stood out the most to me during your answers were relationships, adding value, and opportunities. And it seems as if you've taken a great advantage of all 3, of leveraging those 3 words. Can you kind of express from your perspective how you've been able to take and utilize and leverage those 3 words with relationships, opportunities, and adding value?
Well, let me start with relationship. So at the end of the day, people do business with who they know, who they like. And so you really want to begin to develop the relationships, because at the end of the day, if they really want to do business with you, it doesn't matter what your price is. If they like you, if they want to work with you, folks will figure out a way to work with you, right? And that's been my experience. Okay, now it's not always that case, but if someone really wants to work with you, they'll figure out a way to work with you. And so one of the things that I really try to focus on has been developing the relationships, but then also trusting relationships, right? Do what you say, be what you say, commit to what you say you're going to do, okay? And so I think it starts with trusting folks, understanding that you are a man or woman of your word, that if you commit to something, you're going to fulfill it, right? And so that helps then to begin to develop the relationship. And then value. You need to ensure that we are providing the value. In most cases, we can't just assume we're in a capitalist society, so it's about value. Folks are going, I'm asking somebody to pay me to do something, so I have to be able to provide value to them. Otherwise they're going to look and try and find better value somewhere else. So what I need to be able to do is, and we work really hard in terms of trying to help develop the value add for the clients that we deal with. Going beyond the call of duty, going beyond the service, that's what we strive for. As I mentioned, it's about servicehood, it's about servanthood, and about servant leadership. And so the thing for us is that, okay, what are we going to do to help you as a client, help you as a person. We may have to go beyond the call of duty. We may have to go beyond the actual value of what we have there, and that's what we're willing to do. And so that's what I encourage individual entrepreneurs to begin to look at. It's about the value add that you bring, but also developing a relationship. Can someone trust you? Can somebody trust your word? Trust your commitment, okay, in terms of being able to deliver the product, the quality, the service on time, and for a reasonable and quality price. So I think those are the things that has helped us over the years, be able to maintain, the operation, and then be able to grow in this niche space. Because the space that we're in is that it's not something that is, I mean, I'm not a company that everybody uses, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
They don't need everyone doesn't need my services, right? I'm not like an architect or engineer, right? So every time that there's a building built, there's an architect. Somebody has to go out and search for an architect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a need for a compliance or support person on every project. So
Right.
it's very unique, okay, in terms of the services that we have to, and then there are some people that don't see value in it. And so, that's where we have to be able to say, hey, this is the value add that we bring to the table, and the opportunity to be able to support and provide the services, not only to our client, but to the community at large. This is a benefit to the community. And so that's where we get pleasure of being able to work with and help minority and small businesses get on opportunities that they may not have had the opportunity to do, but because of the fact that we're at the table with the project team, with the project consultants, we're able to do this. I mean, we're finishing up a project now, which is a City of Tampa project, the municipal City of Tampa Municipal Center.
Mm-hmm.
And so that project in itself was one that allowed us to be able to work with a number of Black-owned companies and minority-owned companies, and that, in my opinion, would not have gotten an opportunity, hence for the company, DPR, and the city being able to provide opportunities with that. Now, that came because of the fact that there's community leaders and people in the community that and organizations that were really vocal in terms of trying to ensure that those opportunities existed and came about as a result of the construction. But because of their help and because of being very vocal in the community, DPR and some others, DPR and their corporate diversity team,
Mm-hmm.
and the contractors that were working on, the diverse vendor contractors that was working on that project, was able to provide opportunities for companies that, that may not have had an opportunity to work on the project, and be able to employ people that would not have had an opportunity to work on the project. So those kinds of things are, good providing economic opportunities, providing service, providing employment opportunities. Those kinds of that kind of service is what really fuels us. What we do, how we get up every day, why we get up every day, is to be able to be a service to the people that we work with and come in contact with.
Now, I got maybe two more quick ones. One, and for the time that you started the business to where you are now, did you go into, the business with your business plan and your mindset that you were going to be a boutique business to isolate yourself and niche down into a particular niche that is boutique and that is kind of like limited in terms of the amount of people who was out there? Or did that kind of happen during the path and the journey and the trajectory to where you acquired enough information to see what was going on from your beginning phase to kind of then take it to the point where you want to niche down and to create that boutique service that you offer?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that as an opportunity.
Okay.
And so we began to look at those opportunities and began to develop the concept, right? And just looking at where those services had been provided in the past. Again, it was, there has to be a need, right? And so we looked at where there was a need for it. And so there, at the time, there was a need. Some of the larger general contractors needed assistance to be able to have a company like ours be able to assist them. Just like the Expressway Authority. The Expressway Authority actually put out a proposal. They put out an RFP to hire a consultant. And so we were fortunate, we were selected to do that on behalf of the Expressway Authority. And so, yeah, we saw that that was a need, but as the need became greater and there was more construction and there was more requirement for utilizing minority and small businesses, we saw that as a potential opportunity and just kind of tailored our scope of work and services to that niche and began to develop relationships with the individual companies that actually provide those services. And so that's where the relationship aspect of it came into play, in terms of developing those relationships with the people that actually have, at the end of the day, the people that are doing the construction are the ones that's going to ultimately hire you. And so you want to make sure that have a relationship with the people that are actually going to be doing the work. And so what we did was try to develop the relationships with the individuals and begin to develop a relationship based on trust, based on commitment to, doing business, commitment to the community, and commitment to the businesses that we were working with and serving.
Which goes back to that acronym. So last questions, because I know your time is wrapping up, but talking about relationships and talking about opportunities and adding value,
well, just like we've talked about for the last 15, 20 minutes, it's all about, the servanthood, community supporting businesses. And so our goal as a company and me personally is how can we assist? What I've learned over the years, how can I give back to individuals who are going down this road and trying to survive and trying to make it? Being in business is not easy. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Okay. And so, to the extent that, I'm a first generation entrepreneur. There's nobody else in my business, in my family growing up. I'm the oldest of 6 children, single parent. So I didn't have anyone to fall back on in terms of learning this. This is something that we were pushed out. We did it. But by the grace of God, we're still here today. And actually, I was looking at it and I'm saying, listen, we've gone through 9/11, we've gone through the housing crisis in 2008, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through a number of different other economic downturns, and we're still here only by the grace of God. And so, with the foundation that we a belief in Him. And that's why our lion is there, and so that's really the foundation of what we do and how we are here and how we have survived and how we will continue to survive. It's the foundation of service, foundation of servanthood, and being able to provide the service to an enemy. So.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more based off of the fact that you said with the adding value and being around like-minded entrepreneurs with nothing but positive energy. I think that's one of the best rooms that I've ever been in. And really because from the energy of the crowd and the attendees to the energy and the message of every single speaker that spoke on stage, every person reflected a similar message to what you're stating in terms of united we stand, divided we fall. How it takes all of us to work together to be able to create a real shift and change in terms of the economic conditions of our our community and of our families and of our culture. And I think for me, just being in the room and sitting down and hearing the stories and hearing the messages of all the speakers who hit the stage, and then to actually realize that I knew Mr. Ware, which I didn't until after the event. I didn't realize that I knew him, but he's a ball of energy with himself, and so it's definitely a very powerful experience, and I'm looking forward to it. And my last question, I think you kind of hit it, but just if you can, what is your why? Like, why do you wake up every morning to go as hard as you do with ARIEL and to be able to pour into and support and empower and uplift upcoming entrepreneurs or established entrepreneurs trying to get to the next level? Why do you do that?
To serve.
Gotcha.
To educate. I think our mission is to be able to provide, you know, to the generation behind the legacy and training. And I'd like to be in a position where we can support and provide knowledge, you know, because the Bible says, you know, lack of knowledge, you should perish, right? So, you know, to the extent that we can share our knowledge and expertise, wisdom that we've gained over time, that's what my goal is, to be able to provide that wisdom, that knowledge, that guidance where I can, to help support others that are striving to get to be successful, and to, you know, strive to be, you know, develop their own way and their own legacy in the community.
That's powerful. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Huggins, I definitely appreciate the time more than anything, and then the opportunity to you know, to pick your mind and to really kind of see and learn a lot more about you and ARIEL Business Group. So I thank you for taking the time to join us and for sharing the knowledge and the information and the wisdom, and it's been greatly appreciated.
Well, listen, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you, and appreciate Mr. Ware and the CEO experience. And, you know, we just appreciate the good work that you guys are doing, and, you know, how we can support and continue to support. We would love to continue to do that as well.
Absolutely. And likewise, anything that I can do, you know, to add value and support you and ARIEL Business Group, I'm all for it, because I definitely believe in the mission and I believe in the products and services. So it's been an honor and a pleasure. I greatly appreciate you.
I will say this: we have a great team of people that are involved, and, you know, it's not something that I've done by myself, and I don't want to get that give that impression. You know, we could not be here without the rest of our team and the rest of the community and rest of those individuals in the community that have supported us throughout the years. And so this is not something that I've done on my own. This is something that we've been blessed to be able to have really good relationships, and we've had a good, solid team that's been committed to the journey and committed to the vision. And so I want to thank all of our team members as well for their commitment to ARIEL Business Group, their commitment to the journey, and commitment to the community at large.
That's what's up. And I think that's a mic drop. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Prolific Perspectives Podcast. I'm your host, Andre Polite. This has been an interview with Mr. Huggins, the founder of ARIEL Business Group. Please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate y'all. See you next week. We out. Peace.